I want to spend a little bit of time talking about sort of this, you know, big project versus small project, DIY versus outsource sort of aspect, because you two come to the space from very different places. Like Andrew's company is helping biotechs, biopharma companies sort of, not, you know, outsource, but still sort of a DIY, like, I'm sorry, not DIY, but sort of a, you know, help us out with a platform kind of approach. And at Recursion, I mean, there's been a lot of money, a lot of effort, and a lot of time put into building an infrastructure that allows the company to do these grand things that it's doing. So I want to get a little bit into advice that you would each offer to new and emerging biotechs who are getting into this this space around, you know, what they can do on their own versus what they should outsource, what they should expect if they attempt to do some of this stuff on their own. Oh, somebody's racing right now past one of your offices.
Me.
Was that you, Andrew?
That was my car. That was my car.
Your wife's going out for groceries. Tina, I want to start with you. Tell us a little bit about sort of the computational infrastructure at Recursion, maybe what it's comprised of now, how you've grown. I know you can only share so much, right? You're not going to take us into the Skunk Works operation. But tell us a little bit about like how this premise and then the infrastructure that's enabling it to come to fruition has been built, how it's coming together, what's gone into it.
Yeah, it's certainly been a big investment in time, people, and money, right, to build the infrastructure. And so we have fantastic laboratories. I'm sitting here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and we've actually taken a mall and taken out a sporting goods store and filled it with robots. And right to the right of me, we could run more than 2 million experiments every week. So we have a data production lab. It runs 7 days a week, 2 shifts a day, cranking out these experiments of biology. And so that's that wet lab foundation, and that can run assays like phenomics, right, which is an image-based assay, transcriptomics, so we can do like a confirmation of a phenomics screen with the transcriptomics screening. And we continue to build out. We have laboratory equipment here that's doing DMPK work, right? So if you think about all the DMPK assays you would run to assess, you know, pharmacokinetics, safety. We have in vivomics, computer vision on animal studies, right? So thinking about, once again, like, what are the wet lab, if you think about anything you do in a wet lab or in a in vivo lab in order to get a drug to clinic, how can you do that at scale? And that's what we're building in-house here. That generates a lot of data, to the point earlier, far more data than every movie ever made in every language, right? Like these are huge, huge, huge data sets. So we need things like supercomputers, and we've got a supercomputer called BioHive 1. Earlier this year, we did a partnership with NVIDIA, and we recently announced that we're going to be expanding our BioHive 1 supercomputer, so more supercomputer. So this is a really massive investment in infrastructure, both, and I think we talk so much about AI, but you know, it really starts with the laboratories, right? Like we have built a massive wet laboratory infrastructure in order to run these experiments, like, you know, get a cell line, a primary human cell line, knock out every gene in the genome, and then run that against every chemical compound in a chemical library and infer in silico every relationship where you didn't actually run the experiment. Like that's the kind of experimentation that we're doing here, and trying to look at that in multiple layers, from early drug discovery to translation, and all the way with our partnership with Tempus now into clinical data sets. And so that is a big, big infrastructure build. And having said that, we also do outsourcing, right? We also partner where we do not have the technology yet to do all of that. We do partner with CROs and outsourcing. We partner with large pharma companies. We've got great partnerships with Bayer, with Roche, with Genentech, right? So it takes a village to bring any drug to clinic, to market, and we very much consider ourselves part of that village, right? We're not building this completely on our own.
Yeah, and I don't want to, I don't want to make this a conversation about, about investors and how you fund giant operations like what's being built at Recursion. Yeah, but I am curious. I mean, obviously, what Recursion's doing. Just a real quick response on this, if you don't mind. What Recursion's doing is far different from an academic having a novel molecule in his pocket and saying, hey, I think I can build something around this, but I need some money, right? Like it's a whole different scale. So just give us a sense for what Recursion has done from a foundational growth perspective to enable, to acquire that technology, to put it to good use and enable the work that's going on there. Again, I don't want to go too long on it. I just want some context.
Yeah, and I think the important thing, one, Recursion was very clear from the beginning that we were going to go big, right? So I think you kind of have to choose a lane. There is absolutely nothing wrong with having a very targeted company, right? That is absolutely fine, right? So Recursion made the very intentional choice to decode biology, and knowing that would require a lot of investment and a lot of people and a lot of time. And I think if you look at the early rounds when we were a private company, our Series A, B rounds, Series C, they were really heavily from the tech community. So I think the company originally derived a lot of its investment from these folks in the technology industry who were really curious about when was computational and tech going to impact the drug industry in the way that it has impacted so many other industries. As the company matured, then you started to see like a Series C round led by Bayer, leaps, a large pharmaceutical investment arm, transitioning, and then now we're a public company, and so I will not comment on our investor base, as a public company. But I think you can imagine very much that it is a real mixture of folks that are interested in technology and folks that are interested in life science. And that, you mentioned like this tech bio sector. Part of that is really to be clear that you need both of these industries to come together and for this to be successful. And that includes in an investor base.
Yeah. Andrew, I want to pose a similar question to you. I want to get a sense for what's gone into the building of the computational infrastructure at Evolve. But when I pose the question to you, I want to work in sort of the angle about what you're seeing in terms of clientele, right? Like, where are biopharma companies that Evolve is working with? Where are they at sort of on this acceptance of computational technology to help them further their discovery and design plans? It's a two-part question, I guess. Give us the look behind the curtain at Evolve, and then tell us a little bit about what you're seeing among these small biotechs that you're working with.
Yeah, so we wanted to bring these advanced technologies and tools to organizations that don't otherwise have the capacity or the desire to build them themselves. It's been a journey. It's been characterized by determination, effort, adaptability. Like my co-founder and I don't come from industry. And fundamentally, what we did was we looked at it as a search-based problem. The hypothetical human antibody repertoire is about over 10 to the 18th, but that number is just way too large to search. So we looked at efficient ways to reduce that search space. And the way that we did that was we built a technology platform that combines evolution, structure, and more recently protein language models to generate target-specific antibody sequences. The platform that we have really designs and modifies antibodies, and it retains the conformational and functional integrity, but it provides a shorter path to recombinant antibody expression and functional testing. It's learned from over 500 million antibody examples, and we test over 2 billion fully human and developable antibody sequences per cycle that we provide to our customers. We don't provide them 2 billion, we provide them 96 generally. So I think by combining antibody discovery and engineering into a single workflow, the platform really can perform things like de novo design, biobetter design, affinity maturation, and this is all happening while we're enhancing developability and specificity. Now, from an infrastructure perspective, we're exclusively cloud-based, and we really capitalize on the power of cloud for efficient scaling and deployment, whether it's for extensive training or inference or for expanding our capabilities. And so what we do is like our platform really comprises this sort of suite of pre-trained machine learning modules that are designed to generate potential antibody sequences while interrogating them for their binding, their affinity, their specificity, their availability. And it provides biopharma companies with sort of the unique opportunity to leapfrog past months of trial and error that's associated with the sort of traditional immunization and display methods. They can just seamlessly transition to recombinant panels with sequence data in their hand. And it's also accompanied by lots of in silico characterization. And so what our customers generally are doing is they're coming to us with a disease relevant target or targets, or they come to us with a failing antibody. And generally in about 2 weeks, we can supply them with 96 AI generated antibody sequences that they will then make and test themselves. And with those results of those experiments, we can tune additional iterations of molecules. So let's say, for example, 4 of the 96 have the characteristics, whether functional or otherwise, the characteristics that scientists are looking for. Then we can then guide the next iteration to be more like, the 4 and less like the other 92.
Mm-hmm.
And that allows our customers to really tune to the science that's important to them. Because, someone maybe, 2 different companies working on PD-1 might be looking at 2 different scientific outcomes that they're interested in. So I hope I think I may have missed the second part of the question.
No, you got to it. I mean, you started to allude to it around what problems small biotechs are coming to you to help them solve. What's your, I guess, just to wrap that question up, what's your take on the acceptance among that clientele of this technology?
There's been a cliff-like drop-off of skepticism over the past year. I think in large part to the ability for us, for people who are not data scientists to interact with machine learning in a very realistic way and see what's possible, with, all the chat GPTs, the bards, right? Pick your LLM of the week. It really, I think it's brought to the forefront the capabilities that, some people saw, a decade ago or decades ago. And so that is, and then this sort of influx of papers and research that's coming out about what's possible, is really reducing the skepticism and increasing adoption.
Yeah.
So I think that's helping